Imagine staring death in the face, its amber eyes glowing in the dark, its claws like curved daggers reaching for your flesh. This is no campfire story. It's the real blood-chilling tale of Willie de Beer, a man whose life was torn apart by one of nature's most fearsome predators, the lioness. A honeymoon turned nightmare, a battle for survival against impossible odds, and scars, both physical and emotional, that would last a lifetime. Brace yourself for a story so intense, so savage, it will leave you breathless. This is the terrifying true account of Willie de Beer's lion attack, where survival came at a cost few could bear. Stay with us as we dive into one of the most brutal encounters ever recorded between man and beast. Welcome to Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, the channel where nature's wildest, most jaw-dropping stories come to life. From survival against the odds to the haunting lessons of the untamed wilderness, we explore the raw power of the animal kingdom and the human stories that emerge from it. If you enjoy gripping, edge-of-your-seat content like this, hit that like button. It helps us reach more viewers like you. Subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you're the first to know whenever we drop another savage tale. Share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who loves survival stories or has ever wondered what it's like to come face to face with nature's deadliest predators. So sit back, brace yourself, and get ready to experience the untamed wild like never before. This is Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, where the wilderness is savage and the stories unforgettable. The year was 1972. And the setting was the remote wilderness of Wankie National Park, Rhodesia, now known as Zimbabwe. Willie de Beer, a seasoned game ranger, had taken a rare holiday to relax at an elephant control camp nestled deep in the bush. Joining him on this tranquil retreat were his wife, his daughter, and his son-in-law Colin Matthews, a young man still learning the ways of the wild. Nearby, another couple, Len Harvey, also a game ranger, and his new bride Jean, were enjoying the blissful beginnings of their honeymoon. The camp itself was simple and rustic, a cluster of wattle and daub huts with thatched roofs and open windows that let in the sounds and smells of the African night. It was a place where the line between humanity and wilderness blurred, where the deep growls of distant predators were a nightly soundtrack. Despite this proximity to danger, there was little concern among the camp's occupants. After all, this was a holiday, an escape from the rigorous duties of game management and wildlife control. But there were warning signs, faint whispers of the lurking peril that would soon engulf them. For days, reports of prowling lions had circulated around the camp. 3 of these apex predators had been seen slinking through the shadows, their movements fluid and deliberate. Yet no one felt overly alarmed. Lions rarely enter human dwellings, even when drawn to the tantalizing scent of prey. The camp's open windows and lack of barriers were not unusual for the time, and the absence of firearms at arm's reach, locked away due to regulations, was seen more as a bureaucratic inconvenience than a fatal flaw. The night of the attack began uneventfully. The air was still, heavy with the earthy aroma of the bush, punctuated by the occasional call of nocturnal birds and the distant roar of lions marking their territory. Inside the huts, lanterns flickered, conversations dwindled, and eventually the occupants drifted off to sleep, lulled by the deceptive calm of the wilderness around them. For Willie de Beer and his family, it was a night like any other. Colin had been reading, his young face illuminated by the soft glow of a kerosene lamp. Willie had likely checked on his family before turning in, his instincts as a ranger always attuned to potential dangers. But even his seasoned awareness could not prepare him for what was coming. In the nearby honeymoon hut, Len Harvey and his wife Jean were asleep, blissfully unaware of the predator that prowled just outside their fragile walls. The lioness was no ordinary hunter. Perhaps she was hungry, emboldened by desperation. Perhaps she had tasted human flesh before, and had learned that huts were not impenetrable fortresses, but mere obstacles between her and her prey. Whatever her motivation, she moved with the silent confidence of an apex predator, her powerful muscles coiled like springs ready to strike. The camp, shrouded in darkness, seemed frozen in time. The only sound was the steady hum of the small generator, its rhythmic chugging a faint reminder of human presence in the vast wilderness. Inside their huts, the humans were oblivious to the threat lurking just beyond their doors. It was a moment suspended between tranquility and chaos, the final breath of calm before the storm. And then it happened. A piercing scream shattered the night, erupting from the direction of Len and Jean's hut. The sound was primal, filled with terror and pain, and it jolted the camp into sudden, chaotic wakefulness. The lioness had made her move. What followed was an unthinkable nightmare, a savage and chaotic battle between man and beast, where survival hung by the thinnest of threads. As the camp's occupants rushed to respond, the predator revealed her full, merciless ferocity. What began as a peaceful night would soon transform into a bloody and unforgettable tale of terror and endurance. The scream that shattered the night sent shockwaves through the camp, a sound so raw and piercing that it stirred even the most primal fears in the hearts of those who heard it. Inside Len and Jean Harvey's honeymoon hut, chaos had erupted. A lioness, massive and powerful, had breached the fragile walls of humanity's refuge. She leapt through the small open window with the stealth and precision of a seasoned predator, her senses attuned to the helpless prey within. In the pitch darkness, illuminated only by faint moonlight filtering through the open window, the lioness moved with chilling confidence. Her powerful body emitted an unmistakable musky scent, a harbinger of death. Jean was the first to fall victim. The lioness clamped her powerful jaws around Jean's lower back, lifting her with ease as if she weighed nothing. The predator shook her savagely, the force of the motion rattling the meager structure of the hut itself. Len Harvey, jolted awake by the noise and the surreal horror unfolding before him, acted without hesitation. He lunged at the lioness with the only weapon he had, his bare hands. His instincts as a husband and a man overrode the fear pulsing through his veins. Len struck and clawed at the beast, doing anything he could to save Jean. His efforts were not in vain as the lioness, startled by the sudden resistance, released Jean. But the momentary victory came at a cost. With a single swipe of her massive paw, the lioness knocked Len off his feet. Her razor-sharp claws tore into his shoulder, ripping through flesh and muscle with ease. The pain must have been unbearable, but Len's focus remained on one thing: getting his wife to safety. He screamed at Jean to run. The lioness growled in frustration, her amber eyes flicking between the retreating figure of Jean and the man who dared to challenge her dominance. Jean bolted through the door, her body racked with pain but fueled by adrenaline. As she ran toward Willie de Beer's hut, she considered turning back to help her husband. But the sounds of the struggle, Len's cries of agony mixed with the guttural growls of the lioness, were enough to tell her that there was nothing she could do. Len's fight was a losing one. At Willie's hut, Jean pounded on the door, screaming hysterically for help. Willie, still half asleep, stumbled to the door. The sight of Jean, blooded and wild-eyed, was enough to jolt him into action. He barely registered her words as she described the attack. His ranger instincts took over. Rushing to the safe, he unlocked it with trembling hands, retrieving 2 rifles and a handful of cartridges. By the time Willie and Colin approached Len's hut, the sounds of the struggle had died down, replaced by a foreboding silence. When they called out for Len, the lioness growled from inside the hut, a chilling reminder that she was still there and still dangerous. Willie's first attempt to peer through the window proved disastrous. As he leaned in, the lioness struck with lightning speed, her claws slicing through his forehead down to the bone. Blood poured from the wound, momentarily blinding him and forcing him to retreat. Colin, standing nearby with a rifle, fumbled with the weapon, unable to disengage the safety. Despite the pain and blood loss, Willie pressed on, binding his wound with a torn shirt and steeling himself for another attempt. He approached the window once more, this time with more caution. But the lioness, sensing her opportunity, struck again. Her claws sank into the back of Willie's head, and with a terrifying pull, she ripped his scalp from his skull. The sickening sound of tearing flesh echoed in the night. Willie fell back, clutching the mangled remains of his scalp, now hanging grotesquely over his face. Disoriented and in agony, he could do nothing as the lioness leapt through the window, her massive body landing with a thud. The predator turned her attention to Willie, pouncing on him with savage intent. She clamped her jaws around his head, the pressure splintering his hands as he tried desperately to shield himself. Meanwhile, Colin stood frozen in terror. His rifle, still on safety, refused to fire. In his panic, he stepped backward and accidentally lodged his foot in a steel bucket, the metallic clatter drawing the lioness's attention. She released Willie and turned her focus to Colin, her ears flattening as she prepared to attack. Colin had no time to react. The lioness was on him in an instant, her jaws closing around his arm with bone-crushing force. His screams pierced the night as his arm was reduced to shattered fragments. Instinctively, he shoved his other hand into the lioness's mouth, trying to keep her teeth from reaching his throat. Willie, blinded by his dangling scalp and racked with pain, felt around desperately for a weapon. His broken fingers found the rifle Colin had dropped. With every ounce of strength he had left, Willie flipped the safety off and fired blindly toward the sound of the lioness. The first shot connected, sending a thunderous crack through the air. The lioness roared in pain, but did not retreat. Willie fired again, and then a third time, until the sounds of the beast subsided into silence. The aftermath of the attack was almost as horrifying as the attack itself. Colin, lying in a pool of blood, screamed in agony as the dying lioness, in her final moments, managed to bite off his kneecap. Willie, barely conscious and clutching his mangled hands, staggered to his feet. Together, the two men, broken and bloodied, supported each other as they stumbled back to Willie's hut. Willie's wife, horrified but resolute, took charge. She bundled the mutilated survivors into their vehicle and drove them 30 miles over rough terrain to the main camp. From there, a Rhodesian army helicopter flew them to the nearest hospital. In the days that followed, the survivors' injuries told the story of the brutal encounter. Willie underwent extensive reconstructive surgery, receiving 222 stitches to his head and treatment for his mangled hands. Colin lost partial use of his hand and struggled to walk again after the damage to his leg. Jean's back wounds healed, but the psychological scars remained. Tragically, Len Harvey did not survive. His remains, along with the feathers of a camp chicken, were found in the lioness's stomach the next day. The camp, once a haven of tranquility, was now a stark reminder of nature's raw and unforgiving power. For Willie, Colin and John, survival came at an unimaginable cost, leaving behind not only physical scars, but a haunting tale of a night when man and beast collided in a savage battle for life. As the chilling echoes of tonight's tale fade into silence, we're left with a haunting reminder of just how unpredictable and untamed the animal kingdom truly is. Encounters like these showcase the raw power of nature and the delicate line we walk when stepping into its domain. Thank you so much for joining us on this gripping journey into the savage heart of the wild. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps us bring you more incredible content like this. Don't stop there. Share this video with fellow animal enthusiasts or thrill seekers who love hearing real-life stories that push the limits of human survival. We want to hear from you. Comment below and let us know what you think about tonight's encounter. What would you have done if faced with such a terrifying predator? Or tell us if you've ever had your own wildlife encounter. Your stories could inspire a future episode. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, and join our growing community of adventurers and storytellers. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We upload weekly, and trust us, the stories only get wilder from here. From all of us here at Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, thank you for watching, for supporting the channel, and for diving deep into the awe-inspiring yet dangerous world of wildlife with us. Remember, every tale has its lessons, and every encounter reminds us that out there, it's their world, we're just living in it.